everyone, it's Jess again from Mindflows, and today we are going to be building our pages and our blocks on the Softr app. This is for Softr Build Week Day 2. I'm very excited because this is going to be the day when you will see a little bit more of our vision on why we chose to build the Pulse, and that's going to be your modern company HQ or the digital heartbeat of your company. Later, you're going to see why. And day one recap. So yesterday we built our Softr databases and we have built the tables, and I showed you why we chose the field types that we chose. Able to talk about the related records between different tables in Softr. And based off of the database that we built yesterday, we are going to be building the interface on Softr, and also with the whole pages and the blocks section. So you're gonna see all of that today, and we are going to be building that together. All right, so let's get started. I am going to open my Softr Studio. So this is the database that we built yesterday, right? So we have our tables, we have the people table, departments, requests, announcements, etc. And my team and I just polished everything in here. So we added some nice profile pictures. We added the red branding that we chose for the Pulse. And we just basically polished everything so that it looks interface ready. All right. So when we are done building our database, or even if we're just done with the foundation, we can always go back to it later on. And when we're ready to build the interface, all we need to do is go to this interface section right here. There we go. Everything looks very confusing at the very first view, right? So all of this doesn't make sense. So this is basically just the template or the blank template that Softr has, so that whenever you create a new app and you create it with a new template or a blank app, then this is what you're going to be seeing. And if you watched the video yesterday, you know that I want to always start from scratch. So that means that I'm deleting everything that I'm seeing right here and making sure that I'm starting from scratch, because I want to work with a blank canvas. That's my preferred way of working. So I am just going to be deleting these fields right here. And I will also delete these things right here. So I'm just going to be deleting the other pages, and I will walk you through everything that I'm doing. All right, there we go. Okay, so everything looks empty. I love how it looks right now. This is where I think we can have our creative mind just put some ideas in here. And the Pulse is basically built with the red branding, right? So the first thing that I always do is that I want to make sure that when I'm creating the app, I already have the vision in my head, and that this vision can be shown in front of me. And I am a very visual person. So the first thing that I want to do here is to change the color based on the company's branding. So to do that, we're going to go to the theme section right here, and then just change the colors. So let's do that. I think I'm gonna go for the nice black. So that's gonna be 1D1 F22. The accent for the Pulse is gonna be BD1234. There we go. Background is gonna be, just gonna stick with white for now. And this looks good. So these are basically the options that you see in the theme section in Softr, so that you can customize how your app looks like. And I'll just keep it simple for now. So I'm gonna stick with all of that. Click save. And as you can see, we have the soft accent in here, or the soft red. But I want to be very bold. I want the Pulse to be very pulsy, because that's where the name is coming from, right? So let's click the sidebar and then just go to the style section. So whenever you click on a specific area in here, you're going to see the settings on the right side. All right, so because I click this, I will see the settings for the sidebar. So I am going to change the style to the accent. So as you can see, whatever I changed here also reflected or got reflected on the change in the sidebar. So I'm going to change that to the accent, and for mobile, I'm just going to keep it uniform so we have the red accent. Not a soft accent, but we want it to be very bold, and that's why we chose the accent option right here. Size, let's keep that to medium. Let's keep everything as it is. I like that. And just click X. There we go. So that's the very first look of the pulse. And now we can start working on it. So I already kind of have an idea on what pages or which pages I want to add in the pulse. So the next thing that I would like to do is to add the pages. And going back to what I said earlier, I like to start fresh. I like to start clean. I'm just going to delete the other app pages that I see here so that we can really start from scratch, right? Delete that. Let's delete that. That one as well. So we need to stick, or we need to have at least one app page, right? So we're going to be sticking with this, and that's basically our home page. And we want to make sure that the home page is only visible to logged in users. So whenever you see which page is highlighted in here, you can see some a more button, you can see a settings button, and then you can see a visibility button. So this means that this is where you can define which target audience or which people will have access to this specific page. All right, so let's just keep it that way. Now, the first thing that we're gonna do is to click the sidebar right here and just go through the content. So that's basically the navigation bar that we have. So I'm just gonna keep it as it is, navigation 1. And this is where we can change the layout. So we can choose if we want a sidebar or a top bar, which is going to look like this. Or we can choose the top and the sidebar, which would look like this. I wanna just keep it as simple as possible. And normally when you would have an app that requires authentication and login and a lot of different functions, it makes sense to choose the sidebar rather than the top, the header, because you are going to have a lot of pages, and if you put that on the top, it's going to be super crowded. So it's cleaner, or the user has a more organized view if you just list down the pages from top to bottom rather than from left to right. So we are going to choose the sidebar. There we go, that looks nice. The logo is basically this logo right here. All right, so we're gonna choose horizontal. Let's keep it as it is, I like that. And then now this is where you can add the pages, right? So we don't have any page yet because we haven't created any pages here for our app. So what's gonna happen is that when you click the add function, you can only select the pages that you've already created. And since we haven't created any yet, so that's gonna stay empty. So we're going to have to create the pages first before being able to add them here, right? Okay, so we have the buttons, we have the position of the buttons. Do we want them aligned to the top or aligned to the bottom? Do we want to show the icons of the buttons? And then we have this part here. So that's gonna be the buttons that we can add in this section right here down below. And we can also choose to either show or hide the user menu or the account settings. So that's going to be basically here. As you can see, we saw some a name here that was Zoe Lopez. And if we want to show that, we can just click on toggle, and then that's where we can see Zoe Lopez. All right, so I like the way it is right now. Let's keep it that way. And now what we can do is to change or to add the pages. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is to click the pages section right here. So that's where we can add a new page. And what I like to do is I just want to add the pages. I don't need to fix or to set up the pages, all of the pages right now, because as I said earlier, I am a very visual person and I like to see things as a checklist. So it's, in my mind, it would make it seem like I have the list of the pages that I need to work on. So it's a checklist of pages that I need to work on, and I need to see it in front of me. All right, so we are going to add the first app page that we want. So that's going to be our knowledge base. All right. And I like to keep things very organized, so I'm just going to rearrange that. The next page that I want to add would be the onboarding page. So if you get this error, this means that this URL already exists in the app. And I already know where to find it. So let's just go back to the list of pages, and that is probably in this one. So that's the onboarding flow. The onboarding flow is basically the page that shows up after a person signed up to your app. So that's your onboarding flow. And I am just going to keep it that way. And instead of onboarding, keeping it to onboarding, we can change this to onboarding steps, just so that we have it organized for now. We can always change this later, right? There we go. Let me just refresh. I want to make sure that I can sort the pages. There we go. So we have the home page, we have the knowledge base, we have the onboarding steps. Next, I want to add the requests. So this is the page where the employees would be able to send their PTO requests, sick leave requests, or other kind of requests. There we go. Again, sorted. Next would be our company policies. We want a separate page for that. I'm going to add that here. Next would be our company announcements. Save. Go back to pages and then put it back at the bottom part. Next would be the company event. So we want to share the company event with the whole company or with the whole team. There we go. And then again, move that to the bottom part. And then we have the company directory. All right, there we go. So we have our app pages in here. They are empty for now. And what we're going to be doing is that we will set them up one by one, and then we will add the blocks on these specific pages. All right, so we have the home page, the knowledge base, we have the onboarding steps, we have the requests, policies, announcements, events, and company directory. We have them all right here, and we can always sort them later on if we want to move them around. So now what I want to do is I want these pages to show up in the sidebar. And how we can do that would be to go to the sidebar, go back to the settings section, and then here we can see the link section. So the primary is basically the primary list of pages that we want to add, and the secondary would be somewhere here. So they're just right on top of each other. So for the primary page, I just want to keep them as they are. So if we want to add a new page in here, all we need to do is click the add button and then select if we either want to add a new page or add a page that we've already created, or maybe a category, or this is basically a folder. I'll show you how we can use that later on. Or maybe we just want a page name right there that goes directly to, or that gets redirected directly to an external URL. So in this case, we are going to choose the page option, and we have the home. All right, so as I said, I want to be very organized, and I want this to look nice and very very user friendly, right? So I would like to have the home symbol in here. There we go. So as you can see, this is where we can select the icon for the specific page, and that got updated right here. And this is where we can edit the page name, and then we can also edit the action, select the page that it should automatically redirect to, and we can set it up so that it would either open in the same tab, or if we would click this, if it would open or prompt the browser to open a new tab. So we're just going to keep this as it is. That looks nice. There we go. So the next step would be to add all of the other pages that I listed down. So again, click add, click page, and then select knowledge base. So for the knowledge base, I want to use a book icon. There we go. That looks nice. Next would be the onboarding steps. So since they are steps, I want something that looks kind of like a checklist. Next would be the requests. The requests might be this icon. We can always polish this later. Next would be our policies. So policies would be something, let me see, what would be good? Security. I like this. There we go. And next would be our announcements. Let's choose the right icon for that. I like this. And then we would have our events. Let's use a calendar icon. That looks nice. And the company directory. So basically the list of employees in the company. And I am just going to choose the happy face. All right, there we go. So we have our sidebar. And now we can preview our app. That's how it looks like. I think it looks great. So as you can see, we have the home page, knowledge base, onboarding steps, etc. All of the pages that we added just now, all listed down in here. Looks awesome. Okay, so what I want to do now is to add some more links in here, because we are building the pulse, right? It's supposed to be the digital heartbeat of the company. So that means that we would want our employees to just log into the pulse and be able to get all of the information that they need, or see the information that they need, and also get all of the links that are important for the company. So maybe you guys are using a different CRM system, and instead of having to type that in manually, let's just add the list of important links in here. So I would love to do that through the secondary section. So I am going to add an external URL. So there we go. And I would like to use this icon. So this basically means that if they click CRM, all you need to do is to add the URL of your CRM system in this field right here. And that CRM is automatically, or your user, your employee, will automatically be redirected to your CRM URL without having to leave the pulse. So I'm just going to select new tab. That looks amazing. Maybe we want to save the company website here as well. There we go. Let's choose that. And let's open all of these links right here in a new tab, so that we would always have the pulse in the background. And I think that looks good. What might also be important would be the list of files that you have, or company files that you don't want to save in the pulse. Maybe you have a list of your company files stored in Dropbox, Google Drive, SharePoint, whatever you want. So I'm just going to add external URL in here, and then just name that to SharePoint. I'm actually going to use Google Drive. There we go. And use this icon, and again open in a new tab. So this means that when the user clicks on this page right here, they will automatically be redirected to your Google Drive folder. So that also means that you still have your restrictions in Google Drive, so that's going to be followed, right? Because the only thing that happens here is that the employee would get redirected from the pulse to your Google Drive, and you can simply add your Google Drive folder link in this section. Next would be, I think what would be interesting would be a list of social media pages of the company, which would be easily accessible for the employee. So because we have a lot of social media pages, right? We have LinkedIn, we might have Facebook, Instagram, etc. I am just going to use the category option and name that social media. All right, there we go. And I want to keep the icon uniformed. And then, as you can see, we have a folder here, right? So we just created the social media folder. I think that looks perfect. Now, what's going to happen is that if you click social media, it's going to open a drop-down section in here with all of the pages that you added. And we can add the page through this section. So this means that this is where we can add an item inside the specific category, which is the social media category. So I'm going to click add item inside and click external URL. Here, let's have Facebook. There we go. And then this is where you can add your external Facebook URL. And let's open that in a new tab. And just do the same for Instagram and LinkedIn and maybe YouTube. All right, Instagram, LinkedIn. There we go. And lastly, we have YouTube. Awesome. Okay. I think that looks great for now, and we can always expand later. We can always add more pages later on. So let's just keep the basics for now and then adjust it as we go. That looks perfect. Now let's click the preview button so that we can preview our app. There we go. That looks great. Okay, so we have the polls, we have our pages listed down in here, and we have our external websites or external URLs in here as well. And this is really cool because it means that I think it would be great for an employee or for your team members to just sit down at work in the morning, have the polls open, and know exactly, or have a directory of all of the important links and information within the company. And just to click on the buttons right here and then be redirected directly to the pages or the websites that they need to go to. Perfect. Okay. Now, what I want to change would be the logo. So as you can see, we have logo in here, right? So that's not our Pulse logo. That's just marked as logo. It's basically just a placeholder from Softr. So let's change that by going to settings, general, and this would be our settings. So I'm just going to name this Pulse. I hope this is available. Icon and text. Let's just all right, I think we're gonna change this to the actual Pulse logo later, but then for now, let's keep it like this. And this is where you can add your favicon for your app. And this is where you can also choose to either show the Softr branding or hide it. I'm just going to show it for now. Okay, so we need to change the Pulse because it already exists. There we go. All right, that looks perfect. That looks way better. So now we have all of the page lists or we have all of the pages listed down in the sidebar. I think this looks amazing. And now we can work on everything page by page. Okay, so the first page that we are going to be starting with would be the home page. And when you select a page here, you automatically get redirected to the page so that you can edit that specific page that you just selected. And just so that you know exactly which page you're working on, just take a look at the top left corner. We have the app name in here and we have the page name right below. And if you need to change anything about the page, all you need to do is to click the settings button right here and just edit whatever you need to edit. All right, perfect. And now this is where we can add blocks in our page. And in order for us to add blocks, all we need to do would just be to click the plus button, and this is where we can browse the available blocks for these specific pages. And this is basically how Softr is built. We have the page right here. This is the whole page. We have the page list at the left side, which is also our sidebar. And this is where we can add the blocks. So Softr is built with blocks, right? All right, so let's go back here. So all we need to do now is to click the plus button, which we already did, and then select which block we would like to start with. I would like to start with, let's see, let's browse through the blocks. I love the quick links block. I'll show you guys later why. Perfect. Okay, so I think we're gonna start with the quick links block. I actually want to play with a container. So let me just walk you guys through what I'm looking at right here. So we have dynamic blocks. So this means that we are going to be using blocks that are based off of dynamic data, or basically blocks that are not getting information from your static information or data that you put in here, but this would be the blocks which would show what kind of data you have stored in your chosen database. And we're going to be working with these things later on, but for now, let's go to the static block type. So this means that they are static, so that when you click on the specific block type, you are going to be editing it directly in Softr, and it's going to stay as it is until you re-edit it, of course. And then we have the container section. So we can either choose the tab container. So this means that we can have multiple tabs, kind of like how your browser works and you have multiple tabs. But the only thing that you would need to do in order for you to check another tab is to click on or select the tab that you want to see. That's basically the same way as how the tab container works. Next would be the columns. So we might want the page to be divided into 2 columns or 3 columns, 4 columns. We might want this kind of column, so it's 1:2 ratio, etc. So we have all of the options right here. Now, what I want to do just to be creative would be to maybe select this. We're going to be changing this later on. And as you can see, we selected a container, right? So a 2-column container. This means that we can add a block here and another block on this side. So what I want to do here is just to maybe add a nice static picture. Okay, I'm going to choose this. There we go. So I chose a static block. So this means that whenever our employees are going to be logging in, this is the first thing that they will see. And I am just going to show them a logo of the Pulse, because why not? Perfect. I think that looks great. And if I want to edit the image, all I need to do would be to click this button, and then that's where you can select the width or the roundness, etc. Perfect. We can also change the style of the whole block in here, and let's just keep it this way. I think it looks fine for now. That's basically just me showing you guys how the block works. And on the side, I might want to add the quick links block. There we go. So maybe what I want to do in this part would be to just show them. Let's stick with horizontal. Okay, I think that would look good. And then name this to quick actions. Okay, so let's add the actual quick actions that we have here. So maybe I think it would be a great idea to just add the sidebar options. Basically what you have in here, the list of pages, let's just add that as buttons in here just to make it easier and more accessible for the employees. Okay, So knowledge base, let's add the onboarding steps, let's add the requests, let's add the policies, announcements, events, company directory, okay, this looks a little bit too long for me, to be honest, so we might have to play around with that later on. Just want to show you guys how this will work. Maybe let's try a different view. That looks a bit better. What if we do it 1:3? I don't like that this is honestly not aligned to the top part. It's because of our image, because our image is basically a square image. I like this. That doesn't look nice at all. Okay, so I'm just gonna remove that part, and then let's just try to choose a single. Maybe do that, and then okay, let's just add the photo later on. Okay, so I think that would be a nice way for us to just be able to see the quick actions section, just so that it's easier for the employees to just click around and go directly to where they need to go to. Okay, now I actually have an idea. So why not add the other links in here? So let's just add a quick links block again, add a title, and then maybe name this to important links. There we go. I think that's a great idea. So I always want to delete, and then just add the new pages or the new links that I think are necessary. Let me try page actually. Okay, so we're just going to be adding the links that we have in here. So the first thing that we're going to be adding here would be the CRM. And again, we're going to choose this icon, open it in a new tab. Next would be our company website. Click this. Next would be our Google Drive link. Google Drive link. And then we want to have our social media. So we have Facebook. Oops. Facebook. We would have LinkedIn. Instagram. And YouTube. There we go. New tab. I think it was Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. So we need to reorder that. Perfect. Okay. So I think that looks great. What I have a problem with is that I think that it looks like it has too many buttons, right? So you don't really have a nice a nice division of whether they're the quick action buttons or important link buttons. So what I would want to do would maybe, I have two ideas. So either do it like this. That's actually perfect that we have the same number of pages and the same number of important links. This looks really nice. Or maybe we just want to have a different background here just so that we can distinguish it a little bit. So I'm just thinking of adding our gray. I have to check which gray color we are actually using. So let me just choose that. I think that's a bit too gray. That doesn't look nice. Let's just reset. Okay, so maybe what we want to do is to change the surface color. That doesn't look nice too. It's really a lot of trial and error, and we are going to be polishing this later on, and we'll have Shanine do this. Okay, so I would like to have a different style in here just so that we can distinguish the quick actions and important links. There we go. So that's basically just our homepage or our dashboard, and we are going to be editing that later on as we go. Looks like we have a lot of buttons, right? So we might have to change this and let you know once that's done. Maybe we don't want too much spacing in between. Okay, maybe we want that a little bit smaller. Yeah, that looks better. All right, so we set up the homepage and we're going to make this even better later on as we go. We're going to have a lot of different ideas and we will just add them as we go. All right, so the next page that I want to set up with you guys would be the knowledge base. So this is basically the page where we have a lot of the assets or a lot of information that the company would have. So let's go to that. Again, it's empty, and how we would want to do this is to utilize the dynamic blocks because we are getting information from our database, right? So let's go back to our database just to see what we have in the assets section or the knowledge base table. There we go. So we have the employee handbook, PDO and leave policy, brand guidelines, project management, SOP, IT troubleshooting guide. So I think these are very cool information that we can have. So let's just go and see how we can utilize that. So we just have a URL, we have the asset notes, date posted, last update. How I would want to do this would maybe be to use either a list or a nice list. Okay, so we would probably want to use the grid section. I think that would be cool. Or the grid block type. So we don't have images, right? So if we would have had images for all of our assets, it would be nice to use the cover media or small image because then it looks very uniform and we see a nice preview of the images or of the assets. But since we don't have that, maybe we would want to use the buttons. So this is going to be where everything is located in. And as you can see, once we selected the grid block type, we just see some dummy data in here. And in the right side or on the right side, we can see the settings. So the first thing that we would need to do would be to select the source of where the data should come from. And this should basically come from the database that we created, right? So that's why we chose Softr databases. And here Next, we need to select the database that we worked on yesterday. So that's the post database. And then we need to select which table should the information come from. So that's going to be the knowledge base table. There we go. Okay. And then after selecting this, we can add conditional filters. So as I said earlier, we only want to select assets that have been approved by the admin, right? Because there might be some employees just sharing random assets, and then the admin might not think it's appropriate to share it or might not find it to be valuable. So we're just going to enter our conditional filter in here. So our condition would be to only show the asset if the status is approved, right? So we have the if function here. So we need to select a field that would be the asset status would be approved. All right. So let's take a look at the database again. We have 4 approved and 1 rejected. And now let's take a look at that here. As you can see, we have the 4 approved assets, right? And the one that's been rejected will not be shown here. There we go. I think that looks nice. Now let's edit the content. So the card width should, I think, be a little bit wider than this because we are playing with a lot of text items in here, right? So maybe let's just pick this for now. We want an XL card, and this is where we can add the asset name. So that's the first thing that we saw in here, asset notes. And then if we want to add more information in the card, all we need to do is click the add button and then select the field that we want to show. So I think this is very cool because we can just toggle or change the toggle in every field. So we want to show, I don't think we need to show the asset status because we already know that these assets that are posted here are assets that have been approved by the admin, right? And maybe we want to use the URL as well, but I want to play with the button later on. No, actually, let's add the asset URL just so that it's in there. And then maybe we want to have the date posted information in there and the last updated. There we go. Bottom line is basically the fields that will be aligned to the bottom part of the card in case you have more information in here. Okay, so let's keep that empty for now. I think that looks fine. It's not the end product, but I think that looks fine for now. And then as you can see, we have the action section here. So that means that these are the actions that we can do for this specific block. So we can add a top bar button in case we want the employee to be able to add a new record. This basically means that maybe the employee would want to add an asset that they want to share with the company. So we can allow the employee to do that. All right, so maybe we can allow the employee to be able to add an asset. So we have the add asset button in here. Let's choose a nice icon, maybe just a plus. This might be good. There we go. Okay, and next is to for us to set up the records or the fields. So let's add a new field. These are basically the fields that the employee would need to fill out so that they can add a new asset. So let's add an asset name, asset notes, asset URL, and then we are going to have asset status and the department. Okay, so the employee would need to add an asset name, right? And add the asset notes. That both of these would be required fields. Asset URL might not be a required field because maybe there's no URL for that specific asset. And asset status is all, let's see. I think this should be a hidden input because we don't want the employee to be able to change the asset status on their own, right? So let's take a look at the data again. We have approved, rejected. I think we need to add, oops, that would be here. Pending approval. So this means that this would be the very first or the default status or asset status that should be added in here. Let's go back to the add asset. Asset status should automatically be set to pending approval. There we go. And the department should automatically be okay. So we need to set up the user list first in order for us to do this. So let's just remove that for now. There we go. So let's just make sure that everything is very organized. And new asset submitted to admin for approval. Perfect. Okay, so now let's take a look at the buttons right here, and let's see what which options we can choose. I actually want to use the comment section here. So this means that if they click this button, they're going to see the comments from every person or every employee in the company about this specific knowledge base item or asset. So we're going to change the action and then click open comments. There we go. And maybe use this button. I think that would look great. Perfect. Let's take a look at how it looks like until now. All right, there we go. So we don't have the comment section in here. Need to set that up later on. And once that's set up, we're going to show you how that looks like. Let's just delete that for now. So this is basically the list of all of the assets that you can share with a company. And we have the nice add asset button right there. And the first thing that I'm going to do is to test out the button. So I clicked add asset, and then that's where I can add the asset name, asset nodes, and asset URL. I think that's cool. What I think would also be nice to have would be, it's good, maybe just a nice like so that we can distinguish what's the title. So we can just go to the style section and heading. Maybe stick with this for now. Let's preview again, see how that looks like. Perfect. Okay, so one thing that I noticed is that we have the departments filter right here. So I think this would be cool because this is where you can sort the assets by department, and we can see that in the content section. There you go, filter. Departments, so that's going to show us the assets for all departments by default, and if you want to select a specific department, all you need to do is click that and then just click on the department. What might also make sense would be to use a tag. Maybe we want to use this instead. I think that's fine. Tag. Okay, let's stick with that for now. And then what's also great would be if we can sort the information or the assets by alphabetical order. So we're going to go to the default sort section and sort it by asset name from A to Z. Okay, let's preview. See what we come up with again. Perfect, so it's sorted by alphabetical order, and maybe we just want to see the HR assets. There we go, or maybe just the marketing and HR assets. I think this looks very nice. Okay, let's go back. What we're missing here would be the title, because we want to make sure that we know exactly in which page we're in, right? So we can go back, select the block, don't forget to select the block that you want to be working on, and then click on title and subtitle. Knowledge base, find the important documents. Find important information about your company. There we go. Perfect. I think that looks good for now. Just have a nice knowledge base, super simple and super easy to use. Let's take a look at something that's easier to do as well. So onboarding steps we might have to do in the next video. Let's take a look at the events. I like this because this is where I can get a little bit more visual. So again, if you want to go to another page and edit that, just go to the pages functionality there, and then just go to events. And this is where I think it would be nice to use a calendar. So we have the dynamic fields. Again, we use dynamic because we are basing the data off of a database, right? So that it has to be dynamic. So I think what would be nice would just be to have a nice weekly overview. So let's select week right here. And then now we need to modify our calendar. So we know that we are choosing the polls, and let's go to company events. All right, let's go to the content. And again, let's add the table in here, company events, find the next. Okay. Event title is going to be the event name. Start time is going to be the event start date. End time is going to be the event end date. We might want to show the month view, week view, day view, and agenda, because why not? The default view, maybe let's just stick with a monthly default view. Show weekends, yes or no, and this is the event popover. So that's when the event would be shown upon clicking it. So I think that would be cool. Event title, event start date. Okay, let's have the search bar in here as well, so that we can search for the specific events, and maybe also have a filter. So filter by department. So we want to see all of the events by department. So I think that would also be cool to use. I don't like that they're not beside each other, to be honest. So let's name it filter by department. Multi-select. Amazing. I think that looks awesome. So let's preview. That looks great. So here we can see all of the company events that we have, and just click on that event and then see more information about it. I don't like this, so let's edit that. That should be in the event popover. There we go. I don't like this, so let's add other fields in here. Event link. event details and last updated and date posted. Let's do it like this. Maybe like that. Okay, let's preview again, see how that looks like. Super excited. There we go, click that. Perfect. So we have the event link, date posted, last updated at, event details. I actually want the event details to be at the top. I changed my mind. There we go. Perfect. Let's preview that again. Awesome. Awesome, better. Okay, so if we want to see the events listed monthly, we can easily do that here. And we can see the date today as well. We can see that it's we have the 29th of October today. And we can also just click this in case, or if we want to move to the next month, etc. Or maybe we want an agenda list. I think this is also cool. So this is basically just listing down all of the events that we have for our company, categorized by month. Then again, if we click the event itself, we can see all of the details about the specific event. Perfect. So we have all of those, and company directory. I think that's also something that we can do today in this video because that's pretty straightforward. So let's go to company directory. I like this part because we can get a bit visual here because we can see all of the photos of the employees, their departments, a little bit more information about the employees. So I clicked on the company directory page, and as we can see, everything is empty for now. Let's add a block in here. And this is where I would love to add a grid. So let's use this one. And again, this is all just dummy data. Don't get overwhelmed with this. So the first thing that you would need to do would be to connect it to a data source, which is basically the company directory or the people table that we already created yesterday, right? So let's go here and select people. It auto maps the fields if the fields already exist. And let's sort them by alphabetical order. Then next is for us to adjust or set up the content. So let's have company directory, your team. Perfect. Let's add the cover media or the profile picture. Let's see which data we have in here. It should show up. There we go, it's loading one by one. Okay, so we have the full name, and let's add other fields that we think might be important here as well. Let's have the department, their work email. Your department lead would be good. No, we don't need to know their department lead. Let's just see which department they belong to, their work email, and their phone number. Perfect. That looks amazing. And now let's just change this a bit because I want the cover media to be shown better. Perfect. And now let's adjust the department because it's a tag, and I want everything to look very nice and user friendly. So I want to see the difference between somebody, or I want to automatically be able to see if somebody's in operations or HR. So I'm going to change the color palette. There we go. Perfect. Awesome. That looks perfect. I love it. Let's remove the filter actually. I don't like the filter in there. maybe we would actually want to have a filter by department, right? So let's add a filter by department. Maybe use a tag and filter by department, sync with source, multi-select. That looks amazing. Let's preview again. Awesome. What I want to do is to remove the add record button, because we shouldn't have all of the employees be able to just add a random employee in here, right? So let's remove that. Preview again, see how that looks like. Awesome. It's gonna take a few minutes to load these pictures, or a few seconds. So this is how it looks like. I think it's amazing. And we have the list of people or employees in here. And as you can see, they're loading one by one, and also sorted by alphabetical order. So looks great. And let's say that we only want to see the employees in the operations department. So just select operations, and then that's where we can see Emily Torres and James Park. Perfect. All right, so let's go back to the home section. Just a short recap on how the pulse was created. So we walked through all of this together. I showed you guys my thought process. I showed you what I would do, what I think would be nice. And this is just something that we built in an hour. And we are going to be building something way better by the end of this challenge, or by the end of Softr Build Week. And this is just basically a walkthrough of how we are building the pulse. So as you can see, we have the home section, we have the sidebar with the pages, we have the page right here, home section with all of the buttons. I don't like this, but we're gonna make this better later on. We have the knowledge base in here where we have all of the assets shared by the company. There we go. We can also add an asset. We are using the button with the form function. We have the events section, so that we know exactly which company events we can look forward to this month, and then select the view type, so we can either view it by month, by week, by day, or by agenda. And then we have the company directory, so that we can see the list of the people or the employees in the company. Perfect. All right, so I think that's great. It has been fun, and this has been very productive, I think, and we were able to build a lot in an hour. And we are going to be building much more in the next few days. It's going to be amazing, and we will show you guys what we come up with. Stay tuned and be updated, and follow us everywhere. We are on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, we're on LinkedIn. We also have our website, mindflows.eu. This was Jess, and it's been fun building with you guys, and I'm super excited to build way more with